Hello and welcome to WION Live Broadcast from New York City. I'm Susan Tehwani, and these are the top headlines for this hour. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan declares a 3-month state of emergency in 10 southeastern provinces hit by a major earthquake that has claimed thousands of lives. The president of Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology says the shifting of the tectonic plates that caused the earthquake in Turkey caused the country to move about 3 meters. President Joe Biden will seek to lift an often unenthusiastic nation with a State of the Union address showcasing his efforts to rebuild the U.S. economy and setting the stage for his bid for re-election in 2024. Former London policeman, serial rapist David Carrick sentenced to 36 life terms for rape and sexual assault of several women over decades. Okay, starting off here in the United States, the President Joe Biden plans to seek re-election. However, a new poll from the Associated Press NORC finds a majority of Democrats think one term is enough for Joe Biden. This comes ahead of the president's second State of the Union address tonight. With a divided Congress and skepticism growing of the president, Biden is expected to address the nation with a tone of optimism, touting a growing economy and hot labor market. Biden in his speech is also expected to celebrate a series of bipartisan wins, from the infrastructure bill to the Chip and Science Act and the first gun safety legislation in decades. According to the recent survey, just 37% of Democrats say they want him to seek a second term. This went down from 52% in the weeks before last year's midterm elections. While the Biden administration lays out their legislative victories and ability to govern, the poll suggests relatively few U.S. adults give him high marks on either. Overall, the poll shows 41% approve of how Biden is handling his job as president. This is a similar rating as the end of last year. A majority of Democrats still approve of the job Biden is doing as president, yet their appetite for a re-election campaign has slipped. Only 22% of U.S. adults overall say he should run again. This is down from 29% who said the same thing before last year's midterm elections. Just 13% have a lot of confidence in Biden's ability to accomplish major policy goals. The poll also shows only 23% of U.S. adults say they have, quote, a great deal of confidence in Biden to effectively manage the White House. That has ticked down from 28% a year ago and remains significantly lower than the 44% it was 2 years ago. Just 21% have a lot of confidence in Biden's ability to handle a crisis, down from 26% last March. Generally, during the State of the Union, presidents attempt to sympathize with the nation while shining a spotlight on both their successes and challenges. For Biden, he will address the nation's debt ceiling, calling for support for Ukraine, and pushing back against the increasingly aggressive stance China has taken. Biden is also expected to use the speech to renew his call for political unity, while at the same time look to cement his appeal to wavering Democrats ahead of this expected announcement of his re-election bid. Biden will deliver his address in front of the parents of Tyree Nichols. Nichols died after a beating from Memphis police officers last month. Nichols' parents were invited to attend the address as guests of the Congressional Black Caucus. Well, for more on this, we are joined by Mark Merowitz. He's a political commentator, also a professor at the State University of New York Maritime College. He's joining us live from New York. Mark, welcome back to WION. You know, it's interesting. The way that we are expecting Biden to speak is almost like when people are upset and you tell them, well, don't be upset. So how careful does Biden need to be to not, quote unquote, gaslight the American people by being too optimistic in his speech?
Well, I don't think it's gaslighting. It's the State of the Union. So this is an opportunity for the president to tout his accomplishments and put his best face forward to the American people. That's not unusual. As far as the poll numbers that you mentioned, polls change. And here's really the question. Who is going to be the Republican candidate? That is the question. Now, if you look at Biden, actually in the midterms just now, the Republicans didn't win an overwhelming defeat and actually couldn't even elect a speaker until after 15 ballots. So they're not very strong, although Biden faces a divided government. He's got a Republican House and a Democratic Senate. He's got a lot of problems on the foreign policy side. He's got the Chinese balloon that's been floating around in our atmosphere that had to be shot down. He has the classified documents. And he's got Ukraine, which is sapping money from the American Treasury. On the domestic side, as you mentioned, he's got a couple of good victories on inflation, gun control, chips and science, but he's also got the end of the COVID emergency. So that is an imponderable. And the other point is, if he doesn't run, who's going to run? Kamala Harris, who is a very weak politician, Pete Buttigieg, who completely messed up the transportation system of the United States, where we had, cancellations by the hundreds of thousands. I mean, I'm not trying to be too critical, but the fact of the matter is, it's sometimes if you've got the commodity in place, go with that. And is Trump going to run against Biden? I mean, that is really the question. So I think in terms of State of the Union, putting his best policies and ideas forward is traditional. It's really sort of a show of popularity, a show of the president's best policies and best positions. So I don't think there's any gaslighting involved whatsoever. It's American politics.
Mark, what about Biden's presidential run for a second term? I know you touched upon that a little bit. So is he the best case scenario because the Democrats don't have anyone better? Or the polls are just all over the place right now.
The polls are very variable. And like I say, Biden is a known commodity. He didn't completely get smashed, although he lost the House. That's true, but not completely smashed. And the alternatives are out there. And I wanted to reiterate my point. Kamala Harris would be a disaster for the Democrats and they would lose. Pete Buttigieg, who knows? Small town mayor who was not even able to take care of the potholes in his small town. In other words, is there anybody out there? And they talk about Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama. No, those are not realistic. Is there a realistic substitute for him? That's what you got to look at. And you also have to look at who is going to run on the Republican side. Is it going to be Ron DeSantis? Is it going to be Trump? Who is going to run? Nikki Haley? Is it going to be Pence? These are the considerations. They've got to try to figure that out and read the tea leaves to understand that in order to he wants to run. He thinks he's got a good shot at running and he could win. There's absolutely no question that he could win. He's already won. He won the election last time. So he could win again. The Democrats have to figure out what their best option is. But these numbers are indicative, I think, of the malaise and the problems in America today after COVID. Our economy is down. The Chinese are extremely aggressive. They're sending balloons and they're doing all sorts of things around the world. In Hong Kong, very aggressive against Taiwan. And as far as Ukraine, Ukraine is sapping and taking billions of dollars from the American Treasury. So all I'm trying to say is that what you see in those numbers, I think, is more a overall feeling of discontent about the horrible situation that America right now faces, economy, etc., politics, not so much maybe Biden. It's not always the president himself. The president is trying his best to do the best job he can for the American people. And he will be judged if he runs in 2024. But who is he running against, Susan? That's really the question. I think that's really key. And also, how is this COVID emergency? He's going to close the COVID emergency, I think, in 1 or 2 months. And are we going to see another pandemic? And they're talking about the bird flu. And that could tank his presidency. So, I'm always wary of poll numbers because they take the pulse of the country at a particular time. And, he's trying to put his best face forward. And that's the way it's always been done.
Yeah. And, listen, about poll numbers, I completely agree with you because at the end of the day, we did expect that red wave and it was all based on polls. and common sense that that didn't happen. But, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see, first of all, if President Biden does announce, and as you mentioned, who he's going to be running against. And also, we'll be watching the State of the Union very closely. Mark Merowitz, thank you so much for joining us on WION, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you very much, Susan. Have a nice day.
After shooting down what has become known as a spy balloon from China, the United States is now intensifying the search for its debris. Washington has maintained that relations with Beijing could continue to remain calm but resolute and practical. The U.S. Coast Guard on Monday imposed a temporary security zone in waters off the South Carolina coast, where a search operation is going on for the debris of the Chinese balloon. The balloon was shot down by a U.S. fighter jet on Sunday after it drifted towards the Atlantic Ocean. Beijing has condemned the shooting as an overreaction, saying the incident has damaged ties between the two countries. China claims that the balloon was a civilian aircraft that is used for meteorological purposes. The White House has dismissed that claim. Speaking at a White House press briefing, Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said that the incident won't change the U.S. relations with China. She added that approach from the U.S. side will be calm, and it's up to them to decide what kind of relationship they want and build between the two countries. She also said that the Biden administration still remains focused on establishing guardrails in the often tense relationship and acting cooperatively on some issues of mutual concern.
Our approach with China has been pretty clear, and we've been very clear about this, and it will continue to be calm, resolute, and practical. That is not going to change on how we're going to move forward with our relationship with China, with our diplomatic conversations as we move beyond this. The president has been clear. We have been and will continue to keep open lines of communications with China. And so it's up to China to figure out what kind of relationship that they want. And as you know, yes, Secretary Blinken did postpone his trip. It was not canceled. And when the time permits, we'll see that trip back on the books. But again, it doesn't change our what we are trying to do and how we're trying to move with China. It's up to them.
The appearance of the Chinese balloon caused a political uproar in the United States and prompted top U.S. diplomat Anthony Blinken to cancel a trip to Beijing. North Korea has pledged to boost its military aggression and strengthen its war preparedness this year. The leader, Kim Jong-un, made the announcement at a key meeting in continuation with Pyongyang's actions last year when it tested a record number of nuclear missiles. As Pyongyang prepares to mark a military anniversary, Kim has vowed to expand military drills and beef up the country's war readiness posture. The commitment was made at the meeting of the Central Military Commission of the ruling Workers' Party on Monday. Reports say that major military and political tasks for this year were discussed by the officials. They also discussed the long-term issue concerning the orientation for army building. The state media has reported that apart from its military anniversary, the Korean People's Army has taken the decision due to the prevailing situation with the West. Now it will be strictly perfecting its preparedness for war. The announcement puts its neighbor South Korea and its Western allies on notice, which have already been on alert. Due to its nuclear drills and have staged joint drills of their own in response, the meeting comes just days after it condemned the drills by U.S. and its allies and said that they have reached, quote, an extreme red line. Pyongyang also threatened to turn the Korean peninsula into a, quote, huge war arsenal and a more critical war zone. Meanwhile, North Korean troops have been seen practicing in formation in Pyongyang. North Korea is widely expected to stage a military parade to mark the founding anniversary of its armed forces on Wednesday. U.S. and Seoul have announced that they would expand military drills and deploy more strategic assets to counter North Korea's weapons development and prevent a war with North Korea's announcement. The chances of tension escalating between the two sides remain very high. In Ukraine, the war is intensifying as Russia reports gains in the Donetsk region. And Ukraine says the last 24 hours were the deadliest of the war so far for Russian troops. This is according to the Ukrainian military. It says that more than 133,000 military personnel have died. However, Moscow has denied the claims made by the Ukrainian army and reiterated with claims of eliminating huge numbers of Ukrainian troops. According to Ukraine, its troops also destroyed around 25 Russian tanks in the last 2 days. As the war is about to complete its first year, Moscow is attempting to regain the lost territories. Meanwhile, Kyiv is waiting for Western tanks for a predicted spring offensive, which analysts say can change the course of the war. Moscow is also making full use of hundreds of thousands of troops called up for the past few months in its first mobilization since World War II. According to Kyiv and the West, Russia has been pouring additional troops into eastern Ukraine in recent weeks. In the last few weeks, fighting has focused for months around the Ukrainian-held city of Bakhmut in eastern Donetsk province. Russia says it is taking control of Mykolaiivka, a village in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region. Russia is also investigating the alleged use of chemical weapons by Ukrainian forces near the eastern town of Soledar and Bakhmut. NBA history could be made today. If not today, it will be made sometimes this week when LeBron James becomes the league's greatest scorer of all time. He is just 36 points away from passing the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And the basketball world is gearing up for what will surely be a night for the ages. The 38-year-old is playing his 20th season in the NBA and will most likely break the record, either against the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Milwaukee Bucks. And fittingly, both those matches are home games for the Lakers. Naturally, ticket prices have gone through the roof, with basketball fans desperately trying to be part of that historic night. Tickets for Tuesday's game starts at $284, which is 50% higher than the team's season average. Prices are even higher for Thursday's game against the Bucks. James averages 30 points this season, and going by that stat, he will break the record against the Bucks. Courtside tickets for the game are going for almost $69,000. There are reports that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar could be at the two games himself to celebrate the record. Jabbar won 6 NBA titles, 5 of those with the Lakers. Off the court as well, Jabbar was a civilian rights activist and has been playing a real role model for an entire generation, including James himself.
Yeah, all his teammates, everyone within the organization, man, we're all pulling for him. And again, it's just a testament to his longevity and the way he's been able to keep himself physically in shape at an elite level, the way he's continued to add to his game. It's been a wonderful thing to witness from afar, and now to see it up close has been really, really special. But again, his focus, he hasn't been caught up into that. He's aware of it, obviously, but he hasn't been caught up in that. His biggest thing is to win games.
I mean, I grew up being a historian of all sports and understanding, that I don't have the number like planted in my head, the actual real number. I know it's 38 something, but I know it's been Kareem in my whole life. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I think it's one of the greatest records in sports in general. I think it's up there with the home run record, in baseball. It's just one of those records that you just don't ever see or think that would be broken.
Marvel's tiniest superheroes, Ant-Man and the Wasp, are all set to make a big splash with their new film, Quantumania. Before its grand release on February 17th, Team Ant-Man attended the upcoming film's world premiere in Los Angeles, California. Take a look at this report.
You're an Avenger. You have a daughter. But you've lost a lot of time, like me. We can help each other with that.
Well, Japan, the land famous for its cutting-edge technology, culture, food, and convenience, from robots serving food to warm toilet seats, has never failed to amuse the world with its unique products. And now it has come up with a new quirky invention where you save the effort of pulling a chair or even wrapping a blanket around yourself. I'm going to leave you with this report and say goodbye for now. Please enjoy it, and I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place.
狙って作ってはないんですけど、やっぱり今この巣ごもり需要、コロナでお家の中で過ごす時間が多くなってきているので、少しでも家の中の時間を楽しくくつろいでもらいたいなっていう思いが込められています。
This is great.